Hello and welcome to Spooky People. I'm Clayton Bester.
I'm Scott Russell Hill.
Scotty, on your website, you've got your books that you've written, 7 books, I believe, from memory. What made you decide to start writing a book?
Because I thought the journey of a friend of mine called Matthew, who I met in the Riverland, I thought he was a fascinating person, that his journey was mystical, incredible, and spiritual, and that it was a story worth telling. So I put my fingers to the keyboard, started typing away, and about 6 months later, I had a manuscript titled Matthew.
That your first book was Caught Between Two Worlds.
Which is what Matthew turned into. Because when I sent the manuscript to Pan Macmillan in Sydney, they read it, and the message that came back to me was, Matthew's interesting, but you're even more interesting. Why don't you write about you? So Matthew turned into a manuscript about my journey, which included him. And I always felt that I was caught between two worlds, like caught between all the stuff that I was dealing with him, dealing with my own spiritual journey, hence the title Caught Between Two Worlds. And this is the original cover. I always wanted a ghost hand and a human hand. So that's where that cover came from. And then the cover got updated in 2012 to this, which is also quite spooky. I like the figure looking out over the lake and the light. So that's how Matthew became Caught Between Two Worlds. But it started off me writing about him. And I know one of the experiences that you remember reading about with him was when he held a knife to my throat.
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, yes. No, that just it felt like it was happening to me. I just, even though I knew I'm reading it on the page, but I could feel it almost to the point where I could feel that blade on my neck. It felt so real, and I knew I was reading something that was so authentic and so genuine from an author that they had really gone through this, and you could feel it coming off the page.
And that was just one of many experiences that I had with Matthew. They weren't all confrontive like that. He was just in a world of his own, experiencing things in his way that were unique. And that's why I felt it was worth writing about it. You know, he felt very connected to Nostradamus and the works of Nostradamus. There's whole areas of that. A UFO that we saw in the Riverland, he was with me when we saw that. But I can thank him really for all the stuff that we went through. His journey led to Caught Between Two Worlds being about me, including him, and my first bestseller. So thanks, Matthew. It all worked out fine in the end.
So, Scotty, that was in the mid-90s, 95.
95.
When it hit the bookshelves, and what was the reaction? Did it change your life at all?
Yes, yes, and yes.
Okay.
It raised my profile incredibly. Did a lot of media interviews. And honestly, Clayton, so many people out there are genuinely fascinated by psychics and spooky stuff and UFOs, the spirit world, that it just found a huge audience very quickly.
So, Scotty, we know that when you do a successful first book, the publisher wants a second book. So, what was the time frame, and what led to the second book?
18 months, quick turnaround. They wanted something pretty fast. And Psychic, here's the cover, the original orange cover, was born from that. And here's the updated cover in 2012. I actually picked this cover myself. I didn't pick the orange cover, but I did pick this one for the update. It's an area like that where a lot of UFO activity happened south of Adelaide, where I lived. And that's why that cover is there. It's pertinent to the story, Clayton.
Did you feel the pressure to get the second book out so quickly?
Yes, because Caught Between Two Worlds took a whole lot longer. And this, yes, you're under contract. You're getting paid to do it by a certain time. And it is a pressure, but I put my hand up for it.
Yeah.
And, you deal with that pressure, and Yes, I love Psychic as a book. It's a fabulous story. It's the follow-on from Caught Between Two Worlds ends at a certain place, and then Psychic follows on. Really, as all my books do. They all follow on one to the other. Just the story continues.
And the story continues with Awakening.
Mm-hmm.
What was the time frame in between Psychic to Awakening?
3 years. That is a book where I really questioned about working as a psychic, and was it what I really wanted to do, and was it really worth it, and were the people coming to see me really listening? In the end, I just thought, why am I doing this? It's not really making any difference. People just want to see if what you tell them is what Maria down the road, who reads the cards, told them. Oh, he told us our mother's middle name. Maria did the same thing. Like, it doesn't help anybody.
Yeah.
In the end, I do this work to try to help people find their way, find their path, connect to their spirit, connect to their date of birth, which is your profile of who you are, where you're going, and what you should be doing. So between the guessy game thing, just pulling rabbits out of a hat, I got sick of doing that, and I just didn't want to do it anymore. I just didn't see the purpose. So I took 2 years off, went on my own little spiritual journey, and had an awakening and redefined how I worked, what I wanted to do. And it was through that 2 years that I said, right, if people want to come and see me, they've got to have a good reason to come and see me. No guessing games. How can I help you? Where do you need help? What do you want? So through that awakening, it redefined the way that I work. Have you ever had an awakening, Clayton?
Usually every time I talk to you.
Oh, well, I'll take that as a compliment. Compliment? I'm assuming that's a compliment.
Absolutely, 100%. So from our shared awakenings, what led to Caught Between Two Worlds, the special edition?
Because there was a little bit of pause between what I wrote next, which was Psychic Detective. There was a demand for something, and I didn't want to write another book entirely new, because I knew that I was going to do the Psychic Detective one.
Yeah.
So I just needed to compile Awakening, Psychic, and Caught Between Two Worlds into one book. And there was a little bit of extra information that wasn't in the other books that I included in that. But hence the special edition.
Very special indeed. And Psychic Detective.
The behind the scenes story of working on Sensing Murder, full of photos, full of behind the scenes stuff. And then the cover was updated in 2012 to this. I picked this one as well. I like the fog and the trees and the spooky road, the journey that you go down on the Psychic Detective world. But I will tell you a story.
Yes.
I wrote Psychic Detective. I started on January 1, and I had to deliver it on the 28th of Feb.
Wow.
I wrote it was the biggest book. I can't remember how many pages or whatever, but the manuscript was massive. I wrote the entire book in
57 days.
There you go. Thank you. I was going to say 9 weeks. And my lovely friend Denise, who we are going to be chatting to soon on the podcast about her many stories with me, she fed me cheese and biscuits for how many days was it? 57?
57.
And I'd start typing at midday. I'd go to bed about 2 a.m. She'd feed me. She'd cook dinner. She was reading a book or watching TV, and anything I needed, she'd give me. I remember after 3 or 4 days, she said, you need to have a shower, you smell. So she was my cue to have a shower as well. But yes, Psychic Detective was the biggest book page-wise and word-wise that I ever wrote, but the quickest book that I ever wrote.
Your next book is called Grateful. Tell us about Grateful.
Well, I was on tour and staying at an apartment in Bunbury, which is about 2 hours south of Perth in Western Australia. Got up, had a shower, went to get out of the shower. And when I'm traveling, I hate showers in baths. Like, I like the shower to be separate, because you've got to step out of the bath and organize yourself. So I folded a towel up and put it on the floor, and I dried myself off standing in the bath. reached out with my hand to rest against the towel rack to step out of the bath, lifted my leg up to step onto the towel, and the towel rack collapsed. And I went down, smashed myself into the bath. I injured myself badly that day. We still went to Margaret River. I didn't report it or anything because I'm the big tough karate guy. I just suck all this stuff up and get on with it. But that was a Thursday, and I had a show on the Friday night and the Saturday night, I think, in Bunbury, which went well. They were sold out. I did the shows. But as the months progressed, my health started to deteriorate to the point that I had no balance. I was spinning out all the time. I was in structural physical pain from where I'd hurt myself. I was seeing a neurologist. We're talking about strokes and things like that. I ended up in emergency 3 times. I couldn't stand up. And I had to stop work. So I couldn't go to karate. I couldn't get off the couch. I couldn't function properly. I was still doing Nova breakfast radio in Perth at the time. So I was phoning in my readings and my numerology by the phone. And I remember hanging up from that segment, and I did it lying on the couch. I did that segment, hung up and looked at Denise and said, I can't do this. I'm not going to be able to work anymore. I couldn't piece things together in my head. It was just an incredibly daunting and challenging few months of my life. So then I decided to write a book about it. And I still hadn't figured out what the name of the book would be. And I was getting my hair cut one day, and the guy cutting my head, who knew me quite well, he said, it's so good to see you on your feet again, blah, 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 blah. How's the book going? You knew I was writing a book. What have you called it? And I said, I'm not sure yet. And I said, but in the end, I'm just grateful to still be here. And I went, oh,
Yeah.
here's the name of the book.
Yeah, there it is.
In all of us, no matter what we've been through,
Yeah.
and what people watching and listening to this have been through, you can, I'm not going to say move on. You can get on with life. You can be positive no matter what. You can find a way to be grateful. So being through all that is why I'm not so tolerant on people hanging on to the past for too long and being bitter and twisted and refusing to get on with life. Because when you've been through some really heavy duty stuff, as you and I both have in our own way, you are reminded of the simplicity of everything and the importance of living every day without being morbid about it, and by enjoying and not hanging on to the past and planning for the future. So that certainly was all re-cemented to me. So that was where the book Grateful came from.
And then we get to Sensing Natasha. And we've touched on this in other podcasts, but please, Scotty, tell us again.
Sensing Natasha is how her family refer to her, is a book about how Natasha Hayden jumped into one of the sensing murder episodes in New Zealand, made herself known, told me some information, which I mentioned in the episode, to which her dad contacted me, and then becoming connected to her family, what that connection means. And it's all really, really special. Again, a little bit of what we were touching on just before with Grateful, even though Brian and Lynette and the family have been through and continue to go through such loss and trauma and deal with it day to day through the loss of Natasha, they have found a way to be grateful and supportive and still wonderful people and still look on the positive side, but never forgetting about Natasha. So Sensing Natasha is all about that journey from when she first jumped in through to the relationship that I formed with her parents, what they've gotten out of our relationship and what I've gotten out of it.
Scotty, will there be a book number 8?
I really don't think so. And it's because I feel like I've been there and done that. I want to do new stuff. I've been writing short plays. I've developed something called the Adelaide Short Play Festival that I did for 4 years, giving young up-and-coming actors roles in a professionally written show, which I wrote. But all these different short plays that I've written, many of which touch on spiritual aspects, one in particular, which will feature on Spooky People. I'm really enjoying doing that. I'm really enjoying doing the podcast with you. I think for all of us, there comes a time where we go, been there, done that, got enough out there, let's do something else.
Well, Scotty, you've been there, you've done that, telling us all your adventures in your books, which we're very grateful for.
Oh, fabulous, fabulous play on words. Yes, thank you.
Some things are just, they're ingrained to me. I can't get rid of them. But if you would like to be grateful too and get your very own copy of Scotty's books, perhaps it could be about being psychic, or maybe you've been caught between two worlds, go to Scotty's website, scottrussellhill.com.au. Maybe you could comment below and tell us what is your favorite book, but you must read them in order. And remember to share, like, subscribe the Spooky People podcast. And as we always say, we look forward to being spooky with you soon.
See you next time.
I'm feeling spooky.